On the Eastern Front, in the Ardennes, and across the Italian mountains, men did not fear gunfire as much as the slow, grinding cold that stole their strength night after night. Frozen ground pulled heat straight out of the body. Wet uniforms turned rest into torture. Yet soldiers still had to sleep, sometimes for only minutes at a time, or they became useless the next day. What they developed were not comforts, but systems. These sleeping hacks were passed quietly between units, refined under pressure, and relied on simple physics rather than equipment. They worked then, and they still work now. Soldiers learned quickly that the ground was the enemy, not the air. Veterans wrote repeatedly that cold air was survivable, but frozen earth was lethal. Heat loss into the ground happened faster than any wind exposure. Soldiers countered this by creating layers beneath them before worrying about blankets above. Pine boughs, straw, packed grass, rope coils, and even spare clothing were laid thickly under the body. The goal was separation, not softness. Today, the same principle applies indoors or out. A folded blanket on a cold floor does little, but cardboard, foam, or dry vegetation underneath stops conductive heat loss immediately. Trench soldiers mastered the art of dry insulation at all costs. Wetness was treated as an emergency. Soldiers would go hungry before sleeping in damp gear. Even snow was brushed off meticulously before lying down because melting snow soaked fabric and accelerated heat loss. When drying fires were impossible, men slept with garments tucked between their thighs or under their arms, using body heat to dry them slowly. In modern terms, this translates directly to winter outages or unheated homes. Damp socks or shirts should be dried against the body under layers rather than left to air dry in cold rooms. Sleeping positions were chosen to protect organs, not comfort. WWII manuals and field reports describe soldiers sleeping curled tightly on their sides, knees drawn up, arms crossed over the chest. This reduced surface area and protected the core organs from exposure. Flat, spread-out sleeping was avoided in cold conditions. When space allowed, men slept in groups, aligned back-to-back or chest-to-back, sharing warmth without blankets. For modern survival, this matters during cold-weather camping or power failures. Positioning alone can conserve measurable body heat without using fuel. Improvised vapor barriers made the difference between rest and hypothermia. One of the least discussed, but, most effective tricks was using oilcloth, ponchos, bread bags, or even paper layers beneath sleeping gear to block moisture rising from the ground. Soldiers learned that moisture, not temperature, was what ruined sleep. A simple barrier prevented condensation from soaking bedding. Even today, plastic sheeting, trash bags, or newspapers under bedding serve the same purpose. This principle is why modern emergency bivouacs work, and honestly, it was learned the hard way in foxholes. Soldiers ate deliberately before sleep to generate internal heat. Night rations were not random. High-fat foods were saved for evenings because, digestion produces heat. Soldiers would eat before sleep, even if exhausted, knowing it improved warmth through the night. Chocolate, fats, and dense carbohydrates were preferred. The modern application is straightforward. During cold nights without heat, eating before bed raises core temperature and improves sleep quality far more effectively than piling on more blankets alone. Boots were loosened or removed to preserve circulation overnight. Contrary to instinct, many soldiers loosened or removed boots while sleeping in extreme cold. Tight footwear restricted blood flow and led to frostbite. Men placed boots inside coats or between legs to keep them from freezing solid. This same logic applies today. Sleeping with constrictive clothing reduces circulation and increases cold injury risk. Loose layers trap more warmth than tight ones, even if they're thinner. Wind discipline mattered even when underground. Foxholes, dugouts, and ruined buildings still allowed wind to rob heat. Soldiers blocked openings with packs, helmets, debris, or their bodies themselves. Even small drafts were sealed. In modern homes during winter outages, blocking door gaps, window leaks, and floor drafts yields immediate warmth gains without using energy. This is not comfort advice. It is battlefield physics. Sleep was taken in short, controlled cycles to prevent deep cold loss. In extreme conditions, soldiers rotated sleep in short intervals rather than risking deep sleep and body temperature drops. Units assigned men to wake others periodically. This prevented hypothermia and allowed movement to restore circulation. For modern survival scenarios, especially in unheated spaces, light sleep with periodic movement is safer than prolonged stillness when temperatures drop dangerously low. These methods were not optional, they were survival discipline. None of these hacks were about luxury. They were systems developed by necessity and enforced by experience. Soldiers who ignored them became casualties without ever being shot. The same principles apply today whenever heat, power, or shelter fails. Cold remains indifferent to comfort and only respects preparation. If you value historically tested survival knowledge that still applies today, subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone who understands that the old lessons are often the ones that still work.